Every religion has some form of acknowledgement or celebration of the awakening of consciousness. The entire story of the life of Christ is a symbolic teaching of great significance. The people of that day were not intellectual. Most had no formal education. And so, for the people to understand a teaching of great significance, that teaching must be enacted in story. Story carries great significance. And even in ordinary events referred to in story, the symbolic meaning can be conveyed. And so, what is written, what was passed down of the life and teachings of the Christian religion was founded in a most powerful story. The birth of Christ coincided with the ancient holidays of the winter solstice and the birth of the sun out of darkness. The life and the crucifixion were great symbols in story of the deep truth that the small self, the ego self, must die in order for the true self, the divine self, to emerge. The cross itself is a very ancient symbol. The swastika was a part of many ancient cultures and consists of two lines, perpendicular and horizontal, symbolizing the two polar opposites of the universe, the yin and yang, the masculine and feminine, the dark and light, the Purusha and the Prakriti. They are symboled in the cross, a very ancient symbol, far predating Christianity. And in the ancient symbol of the swastika, used in so many cultures, those two forces are given feet, and then they spin. And that spinning creates the circle of life. So this is ancient symbolism. and that Christ was crucified on the cross was the symbolic equivalent that on this integration of these two forces, the ego is destroyed. The small self is consumed. In the heart between these two forces of Purusha and Prakriti that symbolize the cross, in the center of the cross is the point of singularity, the absolute in the relative creation. And on the feet and the circling of these comes the whole of creation, the circle of life. So that Christianity chose the cross, that Christ's teachings chose the cross, the story of the death and rebirth. This is no accident. The death and rebirth is the powerful story of the dissolution of your individual existence and the rise of the higher transcendent self. So this celebration today, the honoring of this day, is within the traditions of these teachings, the honoring of the transcendence into light, into spirit, where the grace of the Supreme, the unconditional love of the Divine, is brought to the earth plane by this powerful transcendence. Light fills truth, eternal being, and that eternal being is brought close to the earth plane by this symbolic sacrifice that left such an impression that could survive and be the ideation of people, millions of people, for thousands of years. Such a powerful story of transformation and transmutation, and of how, through sacrifice, complete and absolute sacrifice of the personal identity and ego, that divine grace and love is brought to the earth, and the compassion, love, and grace of the Supreme are brought to this realm for the guidance and care of living beings. There is one teaching that has been slightly changed so that its deeper meaning has been a little obscured. In the Christian church, it is often said, "So God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son." But all are the sons and daughters of that divine source. All are the sons and daughters of God, of Parama Purusha. All are the embodiment of that one eternal being. But that one who is immersed in the love of the divine would enact this story in selfless sacrifice, so that living beings for ages, simple people whose story speaks to, could understand self-sacrifice, dissolution of the ego in complete love and devotion to the Supreme, and could experience that grace and love come to them. He showed the path of love. For in Bhakti Yoga, the heart is given to the divine beloved. Heart, body, mind, and soul, so that everything is sacrificed. There is no holding on to anything for yourself. The entire pride of your individuality must be offered. Then what's left? When there is this death of the ego, that which you call you, the little you, is lost in love divine. And then there is the descendants of that love and the ascendant of the spirit merging into that infinite God self. Even in the Yoga Sutras, it says you can do so many practices, learn so many mantras, do so many pranayams, do different austerities and various sorts of disciplines, or you can, with all your heart, with all the sincerity of your mind and your heart, surrender to God. Dissolve your small self. Let go. Give yourself totally into the hands of the infinite, and let that infinite one move through you. Dissolve yourself. Let go. Let that one have your form, your body, your mind, your thoughts, everything. Realize nothing belongs to you. It never has. You are part of the infinite whole, part of the infinite being. You are part of all that is. And all that is part of you. And what you have thought to be your small existence is part of something far more vast. When there is absolute surrender, nothing held behind, then that divinity comes to the earth, meets you, dissolves what you have held to. So, for people of simple minds and pure hearts, such a simple bhakti is a very clear and direct path. The path of love, the path of absolute self-sacrifice. Are there any questions?
I have questions. I heard some saints had this experience of stigmata, that on certain days they have blood coming up on their hands.
Yes.
Deep devotion to Christ. Can you explain that?
Yes. So in yoga, there are the 10 sattvic emotions, right? The tears come from the side of the eyes when one feels one's heart immersed in love for the God, and you can do nothing but cry. When you see the beauty of the divine, the mind cannot tolerate, and the tears run from the eyes, and various symptoms occur. When there is such a strong ideation upon these symptoms, these symbols of Christ, these chakras in the hands, these symbols of where the wounds were, the mind becomes so, of the devotee, becomes so immersed in the Ishtadeva, in the Lord of their choice, in the story of Lord, that they feel the very symptoms come to the physical body. Because remember, the body, the physical body, is the outermost layer of the mind. So when mind is deeply absorbed in these symptoms, in this ideation, it can come into the body, because body is part of the mind, and it is enacted because of the degree of merger of consciousness with that experience. It comes from a very pure devotion, so pure, so powerful, it affects even the physical body. So clear, so powerful is the devotion to the spirit of the Christ and the experience of the Christ. To experience completely that self-sacrifice, that absolute self-sacrifice, and the transcendence that comes with it. Does it make sense to you?
Yeah, it does.
This is of a very high level devotion, where mind is so attuned. There are other things that happen to people in this state of great devotion. The physical body is only the outer part of the mind. All right? Is there more? All right.